Well, okay then. So apparently you all liked the SAR video, which is good on one hand because I actually want to make more content on the game, and I actually lied in my first video.
This game is in fact worth your time. I also need to show you how to play.
And I didn't really do that. Now, as someone who's put an unreasonable amount of time into this game, I feel like I can consider myself to be fairly good. And I'm sure that there are tons of other people who also want to improve, but don't really know where to start. But that's okay. This game isn't really complicated, but some of its small nuances and strategies are a bit much to figure out on your own. So, if you want to learn how to play Super Animal Royale, here's where you start. SAR has a lot more going on to it than meets the eye, and because of the game's growing community, I feel it's only right to explain some of the things that aren't really taught well in game. So this will be the first in a series of videos, and today I will cover the basics. And just a heads up, SAR gets balance patches all the time, so the numbers in this video might not be correct if you're watching it a bit later after its release. But any tip associated with it can still be utilized. Now before we get into the actual game, let's go over a controller you're using, because it does matter. Now, in most games that are cross-platform, mouse and keyboard is generally the better option because of its precise and quick aiming. And while that isn't necessarily false in SAR, it's not nearly as prevalent as it's on a 2D plane. Instead, both have an advantage over each other. Keyboard does in fact have better and quicker aiming, but the controllers have much better movement. Because this game is played in a bird's eye view, the WASD keys can only move you in 8 directions, while the joystick can let you go in all 360. Controller also doesn't have movement acceleration, it just goes the max speed immediately. But enough introduction, let's get started. One of the first things the game teaches you is how to super jump, but what it doesn't tell you is how this is one of the most important actions in the game. As I said in the review, this will be your primary means of getting around the island. Jumping continuously is what you'll want to get used to. It also doesn't tell you that you can pick up items mid-jump, so do make use of that. When jumping continuously, you'll want to get used to getting it perfect. If you press jump 0.1 seconds after you land, you will jump again, but faster. Getting this right will leave a visual effect in your trail and prompt a small sound cue. But don't worry too much if the timing seems a bit hard, just jump again as soon as your feet hit the ground. Once you get into a rhythm, you'll be jumping around the map in no time. Now that you've been practicing jumps in the lobby, it's time to actually start a game and board the eagle. As soon as you jump out, you can either glide using the umbrella or free fall to a spot below you. Typically, the free fall is used when the eagle is right above the place you want to drop. While in a free fall, you're going to be restricted to pretty much only going downwards with very little side-to-side movement. Your umbrella can be reopened at any time to either change your position or rush out of an area that might have been a little bit too populated for your liking. You can jump from the eagle into any caves in the map, so even though you see a roof, it's not really there and you can go through it. And honestly, I'm not sure how this would reasonably work, but it's there, so have at it if phasing through caves is your thing. You can also land on water, and while most games would kill you right then and there, here you just get teleported to the nearest patch of land, so don't bail if you must judge the distance and land in water. Now that you're on the ground, you need to get some gear. Most loot will just be sitting around, but there is more. Crates and destructibles can drop ammo, tape, health juice, and the lot, and grass can also drop it. Rebellion crates contain only rare tier loot or higher, and mole crates drop legendary weapons, but do be careful, as these are shown on the map and will usually be a hotspot for players to duke it out, so do approach with caution. Now, within the first minute, you will likely be fully stocked with guns, armor, health, and a power-up, but this first minute is the most important. If you waited to drop and landed in a relatively secluded location, you're good to go and can kind of collect your gear at your own pace. But if you're landing with other people, choosing what to grab first will likely dictate if your game ends early. Your first priority should be a gun, and almost always a gun. While seeing a level 3 armor might seem tempting, if you're caught with no gun, the armor will just be broken as you make your escape or die trying. Another thing is not to be picky. You'll likely not have the luxury of picking and choosing, with other people also scrambling to get suited up, so pick whatever's available. Even if it's not something you would normally use, even bad guns for a situation like this, like the dart gun or hunting rifle, can still be used to ward off and scare enemy players. However, if you do see a level 3 and you really want it, then go ahead. If you're confident enough in your ability to run away and dodge and juke at other players, then you should be fine. But once it's over and you've survived the initial onslaught, then congrats, you can now pick up the spoils and continue forth. Now that you've picked up a gun, it's probably best that we talk about how guns actually work, and while that might seem kind of silly to explain, it's worth keeping in mind. All guns do have stats that you can see by pressing your toggle inventory button, which is on I by default on keyboard. Okay, just a quick note here for keyboard players, the default button layout kinda sucks, so I strongly recommend remapping. It does let you map to your side buttons on your mouse if you have those, so do utilize that. All guns do have damage fall off, and bullet spread isn't random. There's a pattern for each gun, but for the most part, every weapon is fairly accurate even in the middle of its spread. So don't stress over memorizing bullet patterns. Yeah, I'm looking at you, CSGO. Another thing is that tactical reloading is not present, so don't be afraid to unload an entire clip into your opponent. You also cannot shoot while jumping. However, the bow and sparrow will retain its charge up while you're jumping, so you can make use of that. But after guns, you should probably focus on getting armor next. Armor comes in 3 rarities with 1, 2, and 3 ticks of armor respectively. Now I cannot emphasize this next bit enough. Armor is not an extended health bar. Every tick will take 1 bullet, unless it's from any of these guns, but those we'll talk about later. Because armor does not work like your health does, you need to treat it in certain situations differently. For example, the SMG has one of the highest fire rates in the game, so it shreds through armor like butter. On the other hand, the Magnum, while it can take 2 ticks in one shot, it has a much slower speed, and you get the picture. You might also find yourself in a situation where your armor is broken and you're low on health. Armor should always take priority over your health, because in most cases, 1 tick of armor will usually take you further than if you spend that same amount of time healing your health. Armor might be important, but you will still take damage, so you do need an effective way to patch yourself up when healing is needed. And it comes in many forms. Health juice is the primary healing item. In fact, it's the only healing item. Other methods of healing include mushrooms and coconuts around the map, bananas with the forker, and the poison dart gun. Health juice is simple. Get juice, drink juice, heal. The mushrooms and coconuts are scattered around the environment. Mushrooms can be found in most forest areas connecting most of the map, and coconuts are on the beaches that surround the island. And the poison dart gun can be shot at your teammates to heal them. Health juice restores 9.5 HP per second. Mushrooms and coconuts heal 5 HP each, and can be attacked by emos to restore 10 of their health. Each banana eaten using the forker heals 25 HP, and 1 shot from the dart gun will heal 24 HP over the course of 2 seconds. There are also campfires, which will automatically activate if you are hurt and standing near them, but use these very carefully, especially in the last circle. Like destructibles in grass, you can see when a campfire is being activated even if it's not in your direct field of view. So not only does it give away your position, it also tells everyone that you are hurt. The last category of loot are the power-ups. There are 5 and you can only carry 1 at a time. And despite what I said in my earlier video, not all of them are as useless as I made it out to be. First are the claw boots, which actually do a few things. Firstly, they cut any grass that you walk over, which means that you can get ammos and bananas on the go. It also stops you from slipping on ice. However, I personally don't think this is a good power-up. While ammo drops are good, you will usually max out on ammo very quickly, so the drops aren't really that necessary. Plus, like campfires, other players can see it being cut, even if it's not in their field of view. So it's a dead giveaway. It is, however, really good if the final circle is up north and in the Ice Palace, as it'll prevent you from slipping around. The banana forker lets you eat dropped bananas for 25 HP each, which you can also do while downed. Now there are 2 ways that this can be utilized. One is healing on the go if you're fighting someone who are using bananas. Now in theory, being able to heal from someone else's attack sounds like a good, and you're right, it is. However, not many people use bananas, so this situation won't happen very often. The other method is carrying bananas yourself and throwing them down to heal. This is the fastest way to heal in the game, the one downside being that you sacrifice your offensive power of the skunk bombs and grenades. The ninja booties make your walking 50% quieter and your sneak 12% faster, and also lets you crouch roll in complete silence. Now, I can't really say too much for this one. It is good for stealth and can let you get the drop on people, but stealth isn't really an effective strategy in this game, and you need to slow down significantly for any of the noise canceling to take place, meaning you can't jump around at high speeds. The Skunk Gas Vial is one of the more surprising ones. It makes you faster in the skunk gas, both from the ring and from skunk bombs. It also reduces their damage by 10%. It used to do a bunch more interesting things, but it was deemed too powerful, so they nerfed it, which I feel is an oxymoron in itself since the Tommy gun still exists and being overpowered clearly isn't that big of a deal. But ranting aside, the Vial can be a game-winning tool when it comes down to the last circle, as the minor defense and speed can make a world of a difference in a small area. Being able to poke in and out of the circle while taking potshots at your enemy can make the difference. It's also a pretty decent option for a pacifist win if you don't have the Cupgrade. Speaking of which, lastly is in fact the Cupgrade, which even after a few hours of using each of the other power-ups is still the most useful. It increases your rate of healing, that's all. I think I only like this because I'm impatient and I don't really want to wait for healing. But one good thing to this being one of the most commonly used power-ups is, if you prefer to use any of the others and you are damaged, you can just pick it up off of the dead body, heal, and then pick up your original power-up and then go on with your day. And here are some more snippets of information that didn't really fit anywhere else. When using the dart gun to heal, it's best to hit them when they are out of the way and already healing themselves, as speeding up the process will get them back into the fray faster and make it safer to run away. When you're in a super tight space and someone rushes you, especially within the first minute of the game, melee is actually a fairly reliable option. Getting up in their face and making them panic and miss their shots actually can work, though this is a last resort option and should not be used aggressively. My last bit is, if you really want to sharpen your skills and have a hefty challenge, try solo queuing for duos with Fill off. It definitely sharpens your awareness and game sense, as you're putting yourself at a significant disadvantage. You can do this in squads, but I wouldn't really recommend it, as a 1v4 is pretty much impossible. And that's really all I have for the general stuff. Really, it comes down to practice. Try using guns that you wouldn't normally use. Challenge yourself. And hey, you might even see me in the lobby. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like and subscribe. And if you did not enjoy, go ahead and leave a comment on how my advice sucks, or what worked for you. I'm actually curious to see what tips you guys might have. But this will be it for now, and I will see you all on the next video.